Right. So till now we have seen how to write Selenium code, but we did not see, how to write test cases, how to pass or fail the test cases. Right. We did not see how to generate reports. Okay. So now we'll be starting off with that. We'll be starting off with Testng. Okay, right. Testng is a plugin in Eclipse which you can add, and it can help you to write test cases and report generation and all everything. It can help you out. Okay, so I'll just create a new Java project today, day 14, and hold on. Okay, my Eclipse had hanged. Just a minute. Just 1 minute. File. Okay, day 14. Right. So the first thing is you need to install Testng as a plugin inside Eclipse. Okay, it's another tool. It's a unit testing framework basically. Okay, so out here you go to Google and you type Testng Eclipse. Okay, you go to the first link and you click on the link install the plugin. Right, over here if you scroll down you will find this URL. You take this URL, okay, and you put this URL in Eclipse over here, help. Go to help in Eclipse. Under that you will see the option install new software. Go over here and install new software and put the URL, hit the enter button, and in some time you will see Testng coming up over here. Just click on, select that and keep on clicking next of your Eclipse, next button, and Eclipse will also restart. Alright, once it restarts, you need to go to Window, Show View. Okay, under Java you will be able to see Testng. If you are able to see Testng, that means Testng has been successfully installed as a plugin inside Eclipse. Right. Now once Testng is installed, you can start building the test cases and all easily. Okay, for example, in my day 14, on this source folder, I'll right click and I'll create a new package. Package is like a folder inside folder, and I'll name this package as test cases. Alright, and I'll create a new class known as login test. Right, you make the test case @test public void do login. Okay, right. So this @test is known as an annotation. Okay, this is the function do login. This @test, if you write over here, it means in Testng that this is a test case, and you can move the mouse over the error, whatever error you see over here, right? Hold on, test cannot be this one. Just 1 minute. Hold on. Yeah, you will get the option add Testng library. Okay, in the project you click on this option and Testng will be added as a library along with JRE system library. It has got nothing, but it's got a jar file of testng. Okay, right, now you move the mouse again and import the test annotation. The test annotation can be imported from here. Okay, right. Now this becomes my test case. Okay, inside it I can type login test execution, anything. Okay, you can write your Selenium code inside this test annotation. Right, there is no main function. There is no main function in testng. Okay, when you run this code, hold on. Yeah, you will see an output like this, that total test runs are 1, failures are 0 and skips are 0. There is no main function, and you will see that the login test is passing. Okay, right. Fine. Now you can have as many test annotations as you want in a class. Say for example, do login, then do password change. So you can write over here password change test, and then do logout, and you can write over here logging out. Okay, you can have 3 test functions. Okay, and when you run this, you see that it's clearly written over here, total test runs are 3. Okay, right. And if you look at the output, it will be printed over here, login test execution, logging out and password change. But the order is not the same. First it is printing login, then logout and then password. We were expecting like login, password and then logging out. Okay, so don't expect the order to be the same. Alright, this is testng only, Jay. This test annotation is part of testng. I am importing it from the testng package. Okay, I have included testng as a library in my project. Inside it there is a testng.jar file. This jar file has got this annotation, test annotation. It's got a lot of things. Okay, this is testng itself. Now the order of execution of the test cases is a little jumbled up. So we have to prioritize the test case. You have to write over here priority equals to 1, priority equals to 2, and priority equals to 3. So you will end up writing login test execution, password change test, logging out, and you will prioritize your test cases. Okay, right. So the test case with priority 1 will be executed first, then priority 2 and then priority 3, and when you run this you will get the same output that total test runs are 3, and you get this printed. Okay, you can keep, but it doesn't make sense if you keep priority of 2 test cases the same. Okay, then you cannot control. It's equivalent to not giving any priority. Okay. So you can do like this. Now apart from that, if you refresh your project, you will get a test output folder. Inside this test output folder, you will see that default Testng reports will be there in index.html. If you open this index.html in the browser, automatically Testng generates reports, but these reports are not so good, they are not so effective. Okay, right. To have good reports, to have effective reports, okay, we use something else known as extent reports, which I will talk about. Okay, not right now. Okay, there is something known as extent reports. Right. Okay, now out here if I talk about validations, how to fail a test case, right, how to do that, how to do validations, like let me make a new class known as validations. There is no main function in Testng. Okay, every time you'll have to make @test annotation, say validate homepage, something like this. If I make a function like this, now in testing what do we have? We have an expected value and an actual value. The expected value has to be compared with the actual value, right? Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, look, we have expected value. Say A. This will come from an external file like an Excel file or a properties file. We'll keep it over there and we'll read it from there. The actual value will come from the application. Say you can write driver.getTitle. This will give you the title of the page, right? Fine. So expected value and actual value, you want to compare the expected with the actual, right? So in order to do that, you have to use something known as assertions. There is a class known as assert. Assert.assert equals Okay, this class has got everything static inside it. Make sure you import this class from org.testng package. At times people end up importing it from JUnit package and that creates a problem. So org.testng package should be used to import the assert class. Okay, and assert equals function make make sure makes sure that you know you have the correct values over here. So for example, I'm sorry guys, for example, if you write over here actual value and expected value and run this program, so what will happen is that hold on, just a minute. What will happen is that I'm not able to, yeah, you will see that total runs are 1, failures are 0 and skips are 0. And if I make it as B, both of them are different. If I run this, you will see that failures are 1. It will fail the test case. And there is a tab over here, results of running the class. If you open this tab, it will come in red. That means the test is failing. Alright, fine. So out here, this is how it works. Okay, guys, in this window you will see the gradual results. Right. Okay. Now the next thing is out here, if I use another type of assert, there is another type of assert known as assert true. Now what is this? You have to specify some condition over here. Maybe condition can be 4 greater than 3 and a message. The message can be any sort of error message. Okay, 4 greater than 3. Right. So if you run this code, hold on. Sorry. So what you do is that you have this total test runs as 1, failures as 0. So that means it's passing. Basically this condition has to evaluate to true. I am asserting true. If it is not evaluating to true, then you have to put the error message in the reports. Okay, right. All right. For example, out here, if I write 4 greater than 13, now this is evaluating to false. So if I run this will fail. You see that failures are 1. Right. and in the results of running the test you will have the failure. Okay, fine, you'll get the failure. Now, when do we use this? Remember, I had talked about a function like we made a function, say is element present. You can pass over the XPath of the element inside this. So this function will tell you whether the element is present or not. It will return you true or false. So under such circumstances, you can use this assertion. Okay, right? Like you can throw the error message that the element is not present. Right, and also another thing, sometimes what happens is that you have you are in a situation where you are very sure that the test will never pass. Okay, it will fail. Fine. The test will never pass, it will fail. You are sure about it. In this case, you want to deliberately fail the test case. In what situations you are sure that the test is not passing? We'll talk about it. Okay, we'll talk about it when we do the framework. But for time being, just understand and remember that you can directly fail the test case by writing assert.fail, and you can send the failure message out. When you run this code, it prints the failure message. Okay, right. You can see in the results system, right? This failure message will come up, or you can directly write assert dot fail as well if you don't want to give any failure message. Okay, right? Now the next thing is, this is how you can put validations. You can pass or fail a test case. Right. Sometimes what happens is that you don't want to pass or fail, you want to skip a test case. When a test runs, you don't want it to execute. For example, there were 3 test cases over here. Say I don't want to run the second one, this one, or the first one. So you can simply write the line to skip the test, that is throw new skip exception. You deliberately throw an exception, you write skipping the test, and when you run this code, this will print. See that the yellow sign over here means that the login test is meant to be skipped. The other 2 tests are meant to be passed. Okay, right? right? So out here, you have to, hold on, let me show. You have to write this line in case you want to skip the test case, right? You have to skip this test as well as this test, because if login is not happening, then password change and logout test should not be working, right? Fine, these two should not be working, because obviously if you're not logging in, why do you want to change your password or logging out, or why do you want to log out? Okay, right. So you have to make the tests dependent on each other. So to make a test dependent on the other test, you can write like this, put a comma and you write depends on methods right, and over here also you can write that the logout is dependent on the do login method. You can make both these tests dependent on the login test. Only if the login test passes, then password change and logout test will continue. Okay, so when you run this, you see that total test runs are 1, failures are 0, skips are 1. If you look at this, hold on. See, the other two are not executing out here. You're not even seeing them over here. Think in the latest version of Testng, they have done this. In the earlier versions, the other two also used to, display over here as being skipped. Okay, so you can make the tests dependent as well. You can skip them, you can pass them, you can fail them, right? You can do anything. Right now everything works because I commented off the skip line. Right. Now there are other annotations in Testng as well. For example, there is an annotation known as @before test. And there is an annotation known as after test. Okay, import before test, import after test. Alright, in the before test command, you can print before executing. Hold on, I'll tell you what I am doing. In the after test, you can print after. When you run this, in the output, you will be able to see before executing and after executing, and in between you will have the test cases, words and all, everything. Okay, right. So before test and after test means that basically they will run before and after executing the test cases. Okay, in the beginning and in the end. So if you have some things like if you want to open the browser, you can open in this function, close it in this. The position does not matter for the annotations, they can be anywhere. Okay, at the beginning, at the end. Okay, they can be anywhere. Fine. Alright. Now the next thing is there is another annotation known as before method and after method. Okay, the before method function, inside it you type okay, if you run this, right, if you run this, you see that before method, after method, before method, after. So before method and after method are executed before and after executing each and every test case. Before test and after test are executed before and after executing all the test cases. Before method and after method are executed after each test. For example, you want to generate a report separately, which we will do later on, for every test case. So you can use before and after method over there. In before method you can initialize the reporting, in after method you can finalize the reporting for every test case. So we will do that. I am just giving you an example over here. Okay, right, so you can make test cases, you can prioritize test cases, you can make them dependent on each other, you can have assertions, validations and all. Okay, you can skip a test case by writing this, and you can have various annotational methods, before method, after method and all, various things. Right. Fine. Now the next thing which is there is to create a new class known as, say, a registration test. Suppose I want to run a test case multiple times with different sets of data. Okay, how will I do that? You can also do that, it is really easy. Fine, you can have @test annotation, public void, say a registration test. I want to run this test case more than once with different sets of data. I want to do different types of registrations. So that is also possible. Okay, I'll show you with a diagram. in this case what we do is that we make a two-dimensional array. Okay, we make a two-dimensional array. Hold on, there were few questions being asked, I missed them. But the error can, okay, Shalja was asking, but the error message is not displayed. I think, Shalja, it is displayed. If you look at this validation, I missed the questions being asked. If I run this, if I look at this, then you see that it is written failure message over here. This failure message is same as this failure message which I had done. Okay. Another question, priority equals to 0. This, look Jay, we start the priority from 1. We don't start the priority from 0. Okay, we start the priority from 1. Right. Because I also never used 0. To be very honest, I never saw 0. Okay, right. Now out here I was telling that how do you parameterize? We make a two-dimensional object array with number of rows and number of columns. The number of rows are equal to number of times you want to run the test case. Okay, if I want to run the test case 4 times, I will have 4 rows. If I want to run the test case 5 times, I will have 5 rows. And number of columns are equal to number of data types or number of parameters in your test case. Okay, in this case there are 4 columns, that means you can have 4 parameters. Basically every row will hold the data for one execution. This first row will have the data for first execution set, second row will have data for second execution set, third row and fourth row, like this. And as everybody, like you must be knowing, this is 0, 0, right? This cell is 0, 1, like this. Okay, this is known as 1, 0. You must be knowing little bit like this, right? So that a two-dimensional object array is recognized like this. So we put the data in a two-dimensional object array. And how do we do that and how do we run the test case? Let us see that. To parameterize, this is known as parameterization, that is running single test with multiple sets of data. Okay, to do parameterization, you use the annotation data provider. Okay, right, it returns your two-dimensional object array having the data. Okay, you make a two-dimensional object array say 2, 3. That means you should be running this is row, column. That means you should be running your test 2 times with 3 different data sets. Okay, right. If I write data, 0 0. Okay. Right, hold on. So this is my first row. Okay, there should be 3 columns. Maybe I can give the browser name. Yes, you can execute, Vanita. I'll tell you. In some time I'll tell you. So you have got this. Hold on. This is the first row. This is the second row. Okay, and you return data. So this is the get data function in which you have got a 2-dimensional array. The first row is having this data, second. So I want to run my test case 2 times. And there are 3 columns, that means there are 3 parameters in every row. Okay, or 3 parameters in the test. Now, this was the first step to do it. The first step is that you make a data provider. The next step is that you link the data provider to the test case. You need to tell the test case that this is my data provider. Okay, so you write over here that data provider is get data. So once you link it to the test case, after that you have to make sure, which is the most important step, the number of input parameters in the test case should be same as number of columns. If there are 3 columns, then you should have 3 input parameters like username over here, password and browser. So that's it. What Testng will do is that it will, when it is executing the test, it will see that the data provider is get data. It will go to the get data data provider. It will automatically understand I have to run the test case 2 times, and every time I run we have got 3 parameters. So when it runs for the first time, it passes u1 into username, it will pass p1 into password and Mozilla into the browser. So when you run this code, you see that total test runs are 2, failures are 0, skips are 0. Okay, right? Now if you look at the results over here, you see that it is running with u1, p1 and Chrome, and u2, p2 and, okay, sorry, it should be 1. If you run it, see that it executes the test 2 times with different sets of data. Alright, fine. I hope you have understood my point. Right? So this is how the test runs, and this is how you parameterize the test. And if you look, This is, you need to practice this. If you just do it once, try practice, you will come to know. Now you can also run the test cases in batch. I have created 3 Java files. What if I want to run them together? You can do that. In that case, you use this file known as testng.xml. Hold on. This is testng.xml. You use this testng.xml. Okay, this is your login test. You can keep the package name over here, that it is test. Look, you can give any name over here. Okay, you can even write my login test, but over here you have to give the package name plus the right file name. This is one test set. The next test set is, say, the registration test, and over here you can write that the full class name is testcases.reg test. Then the third is validations test, and the full class name is testcases.validations. You can run all the tests together. Okay, you can right click on testng.xml and you can say run as testng suite. So it's showing me some error. Okay, there was one more test. See the error, look at the error. It says that this class could not be found in the class path. Basically it is telling that there is no package like this. So you have to make sure that the packages are correct. So you right click on this, run it as testng suite. So all the 3 test cases will be executed serially from top to bottom. First register test, then validation, then my login test. See, hold on, just when I run this, you see that all of them, first login test will be executed, then register test, and then validations test. This way these 3 will be executed as the order in which they have specified in the XML file. Okay, right? I hope you got my point. Now the next thing, you can also run these tests parallelly. Now it will execute from top to bottom. Somebody was asking me parallelly. For that, all you need to do is that simply put under the first line parallel equals to tests. So all the tests will be invoked parallelly. Okay, you cannot see that happening. I'll show you. Don't go into this right now. When we will do grid, Selenium grid, we'll study this into more depth, that how can testng invoke the test cases parallelly. Right now, whatever I have told you today is more than enough for Testng. Okay. Yes, I will do it after the class, Saroj. Yeah, I'll copy the code, everything. Right? So, fine then. Yeah, I'll stop here. Thank you.